All right. Yeah.
All right, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Today, we're here, it's June the 11th, 2020, approximately 8:13 a.m. This is the negotiations for the Police Benevolent Association. And then we can go around the room and everyone can say who they are, just for the record. I'm Jana Still, Human Resources for Escambia County.
Nikki Powell, Clerk of Court Finance.
Lorraine Hudson, Clerk of Court Finance.
Jason Santos, Escambia County Road Prison.
James Lucas, Escambia County Sheriff's Office.
Lee Tyree, Escambia County Sheriff's Office and former president.
Lacey Corona, legal counsel for the PBA.
Alan Miller, Florida PBA, and also for y'all's edification, James is the oncoming president for the Northwest Florida chapter. He didn't put that on there, but that's, he is the new victim.
Welcome aboard.
Christopher Smith, Escambia County Jail.
Scott Nash, Escambia County Jail.
Charles Snow, Road Prison.
Debbie Byers, County Administration.
Kristen Newell, Escambia County Attorney's Office.
Janice Gilley, County Administration. So obviously Chief Powell is not here today. There were extenuating circumstances which kept him from being here. So I will share with you that I know day of rest is an issue that he likes to articulate on our behalf, so we won't be discussing that today. From that perspective, I certainly always take your input on your positions and your opinions on day of rest. From that perspective, but we won't necessarily be something that we'll go probably back and forth on, because I do think he's the one that probably articulates our position best in that regard. And have you provided anything yet? No. Okay. So back in August, we provided you with a whole package, right?
Yes.
All right, and so we do have a number of issues that are still open, a number of articles that are still open, and so I didn't know if you wanted to go through those, because we do appreciate, that we were able to TA a lot of articles at the last meeting. The other thing I would mention is I do not have a wage proposal with me today, so just want to make sure that I mention that as we get started as well.
We're getting close to the time that we have to have any kind of wage changes going in before October 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you anticipate that you will have a counter to our proposal from last time before that comes up, or is that something that's not doable?
It's probably something that's not doable at this time. Part of what I've been working on is with the chief is making sure that we have enough positions filled for the new jail, for the oncoming new jail. Part of that conversation has been, we've been looking back at 2013, prior to the county taking on the jail and the positions that we had at that time, and making sure that we can monitor the numbers and see where we were at that time versus where we're going to be whenever the new jail comes on, to make sure that the folks that are there, have an adequate number of employees in the jail. And so we are still looking at that, and that is a considerable increase to the budget if we put in the numbers that have been requested. So we are still negotiating on those numbers. We don't really necessarily have the final numbers yet.
Okay. So there's no period before October 1 or before we get to the budget proposals that you see this getting to a money issue. The problem I'm going to have is the guys are not going to be happy, especially discuss the DOR, without some kind of pay increase.
Yeah.
And I know there's a number of articles that you would like to look at, but again, most of these articles are us conceding to stuff without anything getting put in our gain. And the only thing we're really looking for is to get adequate pay for these guys. So if you're not in a position where you can negotiate pay at this time, I'm not sure if we're in a position to negotiate the rest of the matters that we're talking about giving up stuff when I've got nothing to show them that we're gaining.
Yeah, I understand.
So I'm not sure if we're going to get anything done today.
Okay.
Well, I do have 4 articles that were revised based on our last discussion.
Sure.
That I think are probably going to be something that we could agree to potentially. It memorializes what we agreed to last time, so that could be a starting point.
We'll certainly look at them. I don't want to say I'm gonna handle this negotiation for this contract, but obviously James is the new president.
Mhm.
It would be something maybe we could take and look at and discuss.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that, I would be off the fly able to answer to that.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I would just, so when we costed out the proposal that you provided to us,
Yes,
it was
ma'am.
about a $4.9 million cost over the 3 years.
Okay.
And so I just want to make sure that you knew what we had costed out whenever we looked at it. And that was at your existing numbers. That wasn't necessarily at the numbers with a new jail fully functioning.
Right.
So now that I've gotten some numbers on what that proposal is going to look like, we would probably need to reevaluate these numbers and see where they flesh out from that perspective. Just so that as we're continuing to communicate with the commissioners, we're letting them know what the proposal request was, the
Right.
wage proposal request was.
I mean, certainly we were open to counters
Mhm.
on this, so
Mhm.
it wasn't set in stone
Okay.
exactly what we would get, but, we would like to see some kind of gain in that direction before we concede to any other kind of
Mhm.
changes.
I
Yeah.
completely understand your position.
Along with that too, you have to, we're rapidly not being competitive in the market with Santa Rosa,
Mhm.
Okaloosa, Walton, and all of those are hiring.
Mhm.
And you're possibly going to be losing staff that's here to go there.
Mhm.
Having been around in the corrections since working prior to the explosion and then been a rep after the explosion, we lost 19 employees. We've never recouped those 19 employees,
Right.
and that was the beginning. And I would fair to say that we're probably close to 30 or 35 vacancies right now. I may be
Mhm.
wrong, but just that's typical.
Yeah, and can I just
attrition.
clarify, whenever you say Santa Rosa and Okaloosa, are you talking about state DOC?
No, ma'am, I'm talking about county.
Okay,
Because they're bailing from state DOC to go to those places too.
okay,
But a lot of those that decide to bail, they may not want out-of-state DOC into the county programs
yeah,
because they don't have the training that, I mean, they have training,
right,
but the training is not as intensive as it is with the sheriff's department
mhm, okay.
or BCC type of thing.
So these are the counties, Santa Rosa
Yeah.
and, okay.
We certainly will look at those changes though.
Isn't there starting wages, or is it?
That's the beginning.
They're signed, do they have the sign-on bonus?
They do have a sign.
They have a sign-on bonus. Also, if you have experience at Santa Rosa, they're starting people as high as 41,000.
Okay. All right, we'll look into that. All right, now look at the- Do they have do they have an amount of time that they have to, guarantee that they will stay at the entity if they take the signing bonus? I'm saying signing bonus, sounds like athletes.
Yeah.
I will find out, but
Uh-huh,
I know if they provide the academy, there's a 2-year agreement with
Yeah.
state DOC.
Yeah.
I think that's the same thing that we have, is a
Mhm.
2-year, or y'all do the 2-year.
it's 2 or 3?
It's two.
Okay.
So our county, 18 months, right?
Mhm.
It's 2 years.
So,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure, well, Santa Rosa hadn't had to pay for anybody to go to the academy in a while, I don't think.
Mhm.
They're getting us 35.
Yeah.
It's my understanding they have to be off probation. If they don't
Mhm.
make it to probation, they have to pay these sign that
Mhm.
bonus. That's what we
Yeah.
were informed, so.
Okay. And, you know, everybody, COVID is a 4-letter word, right? We all know that. And I'm sorry that I didn't calculate for a pandemic when we first started talking and having these conversations. The county does have access to some CARES funding, but I want you to know that those CARES funding are not available for salary increases or things like that. So that's, you know, I think people think that's a big piggy bank, but it's kind of not. So I want to mention that. And we have shown a significant reduction in revenues this past year. I will not know until June 30th where we are going to be in terms of tax revenue, in terms of people collecting, like the final ones collecting, the final collections and things like that for the year. So we could have losses in property valuations and things that we don't currently know. So that's another mitigating factor in terms of how much revenue we're going to have over the next year to spend. We do have higher property valuations, but people are saying that we're entering into a recession, and so we're just going to have to keep monitoring, you know, where the health of the businesses are and things like that, because they're the ones that pay our property valuations that we are able to pay the salaries from. And that's across the board, but I understand we're here to talk about your particular unit, so. Did you want to bring those out? Okay.
I have Article 5, 7, 13, and 23. Other than I always highlight anything that's cited as an exhibit, just as a point of reference, but anything else that I changed from the previous proposal is highlighted.
Okay, thank you.
And I will note that the clerk's office requested a minor modification to Article 13, and you'll see that on the first page.
That may have gone. If we have an extra 13.
Yeah, there's an extra. These are all extra, I think, right here.
I just need 113. So are we changing vendors for the county health clinic?
We
Yes.
are
Which company are we going in?
Marathon.
Marathon.
Is that the one that we had agreed upon previously as
Well-
a committee?
It's the one, you talking about,
The
I'm sorry, when you
benefits
say previously, do you mean last year previously or this year previously?
Last year previously, we had the committee had met and gone through and vetted, and made a decision, and then a couple of the employees came and made last minute pleas.
And I've made it very clear, because I didn't get here till after that, and I made it
Yeah.
very clear. I went and sat down with them and I said, look, you have a contractual obligation with your employer that I'm not gonna get in the middle of. And so you need to be aware that we have 1 year and we're gonna rebid this, and then and I think that the sheriff's department has been very engaged in all the negotiations, and the city has been very engaged. I understand in the end, there's a vote.
Well, no, what I'm getting at was, we had the benefits committee that had came in and met, and we spent hours and hours going over it, and then listening to all the pitches, and then it's kind of like, it just, I mean, you weren't here yet, but it just went south from there.
Well, I'm hoping it won't this year. I feel quite confident that there's been an opportunity to provide a little bit more education, and we've consistently mentioned the fact that we cannot get between the contractual obligations of those employees and the current vendor, and that they had a year to get out of that contractual arrangement if they wanted other opportunities.
Yeah, 'cause
So,
we-
but it was actually, interestingly, I think interestingly, it was the same company that you all recommended
It's
last
what
year.
That's, yeah, 'cause they were good, and they were gonna try to work with the two providers.
Yeah, I'm gonna let them,
Oh, I know, I know.
you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I
But,
get it, my family has a story I'll tell you about
Oh.
the physician's assistant saving my stepson's life, so,
aw,
yeah, he,
The one with Marathon or,
no, the one that we
Consider-
currently have, Vince,
yeah, Vince is great.
he stuck with, he had a gut feeling that there was something really serious wrong with my stepson, and he wrote letters and letters to the insurance company, finally got a CT done, and they diagnosed him with lymphoma.
Aw.
And he was in like stage 3 or 4 at the time, and he's a survivor now over 5 years.
awesome, that is awesome. I know,
You don't hear stories like that.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
Just
yeah,
because of his diligence, so.
their
But I
staff,
do
Dr.
think
Reed's
Vince
good
is,
too.
but I do think Vince is retiring though. I was thinking he was one of the ones that, I don't think he has a contract. I might be wrong.
it was Garnett and,
And Dr. E,
Dr.
Dr. E.
thing,
Yes, I think they were going to,
Yeah.
I don't think
I
that
don't know.
Vince was part of it.
Anyway.
But now back to the county.
Okay, did you want to run through these?
I think we're gonna discuss these off-site. And I hate for all of us to get here and not accomplish anything, because I feel like that's what we have done. But when we started this process in January of 2019, we came in and told them from the outset, look, this has gotta be about pay for these guys. And, until y'all can discuss money
Okay.
and really have something, I really can't go any further with it. That's gotta be the goal with this, is, I can't concede to anything more without knowing that these guys will get an increase.
Okay, I understand that.
Right,
I
okay.
understand.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.